What is going on, our Atomic Cycle Works friends? It's been a while since we've been doing videos. They're going to be quick. We're really busy. I want to give you some how-to videos, but you're going to have to bear with us because we are a busy shop. I thought this would be a good one just because dirt bike seats are very popular and sometimes they're actually a pain in the butt, and I wanted to go over a few things. This seat, when it came in, we pulled the cover off and the foam actually looked good. What people don't realize is when you go to put the new cover on it and you squish down the foam, it'll actually collapse the side of the seat, and then you'll see all the damaged foam underneath there. So what we do is, obviously it'd be nice to cut this out and fix it right, which is add new foam and grind it. Sometimes when people don't want to spend that much because it's just a dirt bike seat that they're just going to have fun on, we'll actually just take another piece of material and skim it over and do what we call free floating, where the new foam will actually come right over it and it doesn't get pushed into there. All right, so we put the foam on this. See, now it looks a lot more uniform. Again, this customer didn't want us to repair the foam. He just wants to put the cover on it and make it look good. He didn't even honestly want what we're doing here. I just can't, in good faith, put something together and not have it look right. So now we're going to take this seat and we are going to put it together. And which one's what way? This one is actually a very cheap seat cover. You could probably put it on either way, but we're going to put it on here. It already went on. When we put it on, it looked like bad because of the foam underneath it, which is hard to do. So now that when we already have our staple holes in here, and this is one thing you'll actually hear me say in a lot of videos, and I always say to our guys, is that when you first start stapling, you put a few staples really far back, because if you screw up, you could keep moving it in. If you put it here and then you have to move the seat's ruined. So this one has staples really close to the edge, so it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge, but hopefully pull through. With metric bikes, they usually have a mark in the front, which this one actually, oh, it does. There's a little line where your center is, and it's almost always right. So I marked a center on our seat cover there, so I know where our center is. I'm going to bring it over our old staple holes over, and I'm going to line everything up in the center here, and I'm going to zap a staple down really far, 2 staples. Now I'm going to come to the back here and do the same thing. We want to make sure that this is fairly tight. Never try to take all your stretch out in the first time you're doing any upholstery work, because you'll rip something, you'll tear it, or you'll stretch it in the wrong direction. So what I do is I just come through, we're going to pull it around, pull everything to the center again, put a couple staples in. You see I put them far away, way over here. When we're done, they're going to be right around the edge here. But again, you never want to do that right out of the gate. We're going to make sure this is centered, and I'm just going to bring this around and just put a couple really loose staples in. Far away. And always flipping over and looking back to see what you're doing. Now that I know we're ready to go, we're going to grab our heat gun. One of the most common things you'll also hear me say is, when I hear someone doing upholstery and they start complaining about something and their heat gun's not going, you should always have your heat gun going while you're doing any seat work, and also make sure your table is clean underneath you. If there's any staples, somebody obviously cut wood or something on this table, which you're not supposed to do. We just replaced this cover because someone ripped it and it's ripped in the same spot. If you have wood chips or staples and you spin your seat, you rip it and then there's no going back. So I'm going to look at this here. I see that it's a little bit leaning towards that way. So what I'm going to do is pull it the opposite way, and we're going to get this warm. These ones can be a challenge because of the straight lines here. They're trying to do that Ferrari thing. So what happens is they'll have a tendency to be a smiley face or a frown, and it looks stupid. So we're going to try to get rid of that. Always keep your hand there. If it's too hot for your hand, it's too hot for the seat. And honestly, some of these cheap covers that have been coming through, even if it's too hot for your hand, sometimes it's way too hot for the seat. So now you can see here, this was stapled very close to the edge, so we're going to have to be really careful. I can see it's going this way now, so I want to pull it the other way. I'm going to get it warm. This material is very cheap, very inexpensive. If I got it hot like I would a normal material, it's going to melt. It stretches nice when it's warm, but it wants to rip. So I'm pulling this over just a little bit more. A couple staples. We're going to look at it. We're going to turn that frown upside down. Pull this down, pull this up. Have a staple in there. Look at what we're doing. Okay, every time we flip it, we look. So this is fairly close. It still has to go up a little bit on this side, but I'm going to start working everything else. What I always do is I sit here and I use my peripheral vision to see the sides of the seat. When you look down the sides, it'll tell you where this seam needs to lie and how wide it is on the sides. So every time I look, I say, okay, it's a little bit wider on this side, so it needs to go that way. So we're gonna work that side. So I'm gonna pull this, we're gonna heat this up. We're gonna end up moving this staple out now because we're gonna start pulling it tighter. You can see here where the original cover was on, there's actually a mark here, and then we are going to switch it over. So you see here how close that rip is. We gotta be really careful because we don't wanna actually rip it. So I'm pulling it just beyond there now. I'm gonna move my staples in a little bit closer because I know we're getting pretty close. I'm gonna look at it again and say, okay, now when I look at that side, I can see it's tight. We got a wrinkle here. This material has wrinkles going this way. If you have wrinkles that way, you pull it this way. If you have wrinkles this way, you pull it this way. Wrinkles this way, you pull it that way. So we're gonna heat this up and we're gonna pull this that way. And again, you have to pay attention to all these little black bands going across the orange because it's very easy to get those to look like little frowns. I'm gonna pull these out. So as I'm pulling it, I can massage this a little bit and bring it down where you want it to go. So what happens is now I'm trying to get this where it needs to go. I can see that the original cover was over here. So what happens is when you add foam to something, even a 1/4 inch foam, it ends up 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/4 inch out on the sides, top, and now we have it on the bottom. So if you add those up, 1/4 plus 1/4 is a half, 1/4 plus 1/4 is a half. That's an inch. So we actually made this seat an inch bigger just by adding that 1/4 inch foam. So it's very imperative to keep your staples out so we don't run into stuff like this, because now we're gonna have to make sure that these are there. Now that there's heat going on this, what's gonna happen is wherever there's a staple hole, it's gonna wanna rip and pull really tight. See that? See where the staple was? I'm not putting any pressure on there, it wants to rip. So what I'm going to do is grab here with my thumbs and roll this forward, give it a slight pull. I'm actually sticking my fingers underneath it and lifting it off the edge. Normally you pull hard off the edge, but I don't want to do that because it would rip there without a doubt. This material is super, super thin. Also, a thing we're running into is when you do dirt bike seats, this edge here of the foam, when it comes out of the mold, there's always a sharp edge there. A lot of times we'll go through and actually snip that sharp edge off because the material will actually pull around there and look really bad. By putting the 1/4 inch foam over there, it hides a lot of that. So then we're able to pull the material and make it look better. Also, when you start stretching this stuff, you can see what happens is everything stretches differently wherever there's a seam. So you very easily get these whoop-de-doops here, which could be a challenge to get out. So we're gonna try to get those out. And first, what I'm going to do is pull it back. You got these seams here now, or these wrinkles. We want these wrinkles back. One thing with plastic seats is sometimes the more you stretch them, the plastic bends. So with very little pressure, it'll start bending and you'll get more wrinkles. So if you overstretch or pull it, you're going to bend the seat back. Some seats, when you hook it on, they'll actually go back out there, so we'll get rid of them. But it's very hard to tell your customer, don't worry, the wrinkles will come out. Because I'm always the guy that says, if there's wrinkles in it, it's never going to come out. We're going to heat this up. I'm going to smack this back, try to bring this whole thing back a little bit, get these wrinkles out without bending this back, and then we could go through and start really making it look better. This vinyl gets hot fast. All right, so we just went through. I put the staples in. I actually dyed the bottom of the seat just so it looks a little bit better, and dyed the staples and stuff so it looks cleaner. There's options that you have when you do a dirt bike. One, you could do stainless staples. Mark had asked about the stainless staples the other day. Everybody has an option to do them. Things like stainless staples are roughly 6 to 9 times the price of regular staples. So it doesn't seem much, but if someone wants you to throw a cover on for 20 or 30 bucks, you know, you don't do all that extra stuff. You don't foam it and do this. And ironically, as I was doing this, India, who's behind the camera staring, came out and said, make sure you know he didn't pay for the extra foam. I said, I know, but I can't let it go out that way. See, no bumps, no messed up foam. Hopefully he'll be happy with this. He can ride his bike, enjoy it. It looks very nice. When he puts it on the bike, it's going to stretch out a little bit, but we don't have wrinkles here, so we don't have to worry about it. Thanks for watching the video. Please remember to like, try to get India to do it.
Subscribe.
Oh wait, this is on the Atomic Cycle. India, nobody's even met you on the CycleWorks channel yet. So Atomic Auto Works, people know India because we make fun of her to say like, share, subscribe, follow, ring the bell.
Bing.